Taiwan, for example, now there are many more bhikkhunis than bhikkhus. Could it be possible that the monks in Sri Lanka are afraid that this could happen in Sri Lanka?
Really, I cannot explain except that tradition has it that we have lost the bhikkhuni order 1,000 years ago, and the bhikkhus got used to this pattern of existence, and maybe they don't like to deviate. It's not all of them. I find that nearly 90% of them are very supportive. But there may be a few who are not. Tradition bound or whatever reason I can't tell you. I'm not sure, there may be many reasons. And for instance, they may fear that there could be uneducated women entering and diluting the order, or undisciplined, indisciplined women. And then, when sexes, male and female, there could arise many complications that could destroy even the very existence of the present monkhood. And I don't know, there may be many reasons for this. Maybe that they feel that women will be a challenge, and the bhikkhunis may take the upper hand, and the women who are more supportive to the sangha may congregate round the bhikkhuni and then overrule the bhikkhu. I don't know what it is. There may be many reasons for this. But I think they are unfounded, in the sense that I feel the proper bhikkhuni order can only help the bhikkhu order, and together we could do much more, the real brotherhood. Because it was in Sri Lanka, it was Venerable Sangamitta and Venerable Mahinda who started this order, and they were sister and brother arahants. That brotherhood at the beginning was so important that generations of bhikkhus and bhikkhunis coexisted without any differences, until, of course, for various reasons like the Pandya Chola invasions from South India destroyed the bhikkhuni order and even destroyed the bhikkhu order. But they were coexisting in Sri Lanka for thousands of years, maybe, and they were arahants. And you can, even today, there is enough evidence to prove in our ruins and the archaeological remains that there was a very powerful bhikkhuni order in Sri Lanka, and there were no complications. One remarkable thing is that they never had any sectarian views. The monks were divided a little bit because of the different Mahavihara, Abhayagiri, and Jetavana. There were 3 sects. But the bhikkhunis were not so divided. There were no sectarian views, and they coexisted peacefully and very well, each helping the other.
To your knowledge, did the Dharma-gupta school of Vinaya exist in Sri Lanka at one time?
It is supposed that sometimes there was the Mahayana later on. Mahayana tradition also made inroads to Sri Lanka, and especially the Abhayagiri sect uh, uh, was influenced very much. But I don't know whether there is concrete evidence to prove that it is this Dharmagupta Vinaya that went to China. I am not sure of that. Maybe you have to do more research. But I find Dharmagupta Vinaya, which I studied, is very similar to Theravada Vinaya with the Chinese and the Koreans practice. So I think even if it was, especially where ordination is concerned, the ordination procedure has not changed at all, because it looks as if that nobody tampered with the Vinaya that the Buddha ordained. It was more or less the sutras that underwent any appreciable change in Mahayana. So the Theravada Vinaya looks very much similar maybe Dharmagupta Vinaya has more rules of discipline, such as 348 rules, whereas Theravada has only 311. So I don't see any reason why we cannot accept Dharmagupta Vinaya for the purpose of ordination.
In your opinion, would it be acceptable for Theravada bhikkhus and Dharmagupta bhikkhunis to perform an ordination of bhikkhunis together?
In our case, what really happened was the Theravada bhikkhus were really observers. They were in the background. It was entirely the um, Korean bhikkhu and bhikkhuni sangha that belonged to the Sangha Council, the World Sangha Council. They were a sect of the World Sangha Council, and they are the ones who performed the higher ordination. Whereas Sri Lanka is also a member of the World Sangha Council. And Venerable Vipulasara is the Secretary General of the World Council, Sangha Council. That is why he could use his influence to get the Theravada bhikkhus and bhikkhunis to consent to give this ordination.
But what I mean is, okay, you received bhikkhuni ordination in the Dharmagupta lineage. The bhikkhus in Sri Lanka belong to the Theravada lineage. In the future, for the ordination of bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka, do you think that it would be acceptable for these Theravada bhikkhus and the Dharmagupta bhikkhunis together to perform an ordination?
I don't see myself as a Dharmagupta bhikkhuni, because at present we are following the Theravada tradition altogether, because we study the Vinaya of the Pali Vinaya, and we live according, the practice is according to the Pali Vinaya, and we have no knowledge of Dharmagupta Vinaya as such, because it is in the sense that we don't practice it. We practice the Theravada Vinaya, although we got ordination through the Dharmagupta Vinaya.
But you accept that the ordination that you got was the Dharmagupta ordination, and the precepts that you took were the Dharmagupta
What I
precepts.
believe is that where the ordination procedure is concerned, there is no difference between Dharmagupta Vinaya and Theravada Vinaya.
But there's certain difference in precepts, small differences.
Yeah,
There-
small differences such as, say, the taking of the Bodhisattva vow.
That's,
That is not, that we did not take at all.
but in the Dharmagupta Vinaya, the Dharmagupta precepts that you received, there also are small differences. There are 37 extra precepts for the bhikkhuni in the Dharmagupta tradition. And this is the only lineage available in the world today, is the Dharmagupta lineage of bhikkhuni precepts. So now you belong to the precepts you received, even though your practice is Theravada, the precepts you received are from the Dharmagupta. It's the only possibility. So you received those precepts, those 348 precepts, and now you must try to keep them.
We try to keep them, maybe we are keeping them. But where ordination procedure is concerned, I don't know whether we could carry on that kind of difference. That I don't know in the future whether it is essential that we should keep to all those extra maybe minor rules. I don't know. I have not had this experience of giving ordination to someone else, but it could take quite some time for me to be qualified to give ordination, because we are still practicing. And when the time comes, I think we may settle for a comfortable blend that can be carried through and that could be acceptable to everybody. I don't know, I have not studied this aspect of it. Possibly we might come to a consensus, and there again, the Sangha community might decide that we should hold to these rules which are relevant. And Sangha community might decide how the ordination should follow through us, if such a day ever comes.
What do you think the benefits to Buddhism in Sri Lanka would be of having a Bhikkhuni Sangha?
Oh, many, many benefits, because as it is, the Dasasir Matas, the 10 precept nuns, are marginalized. They don't belong to the Bhikkhu Sangha and they don't belong to the lay society. So they are torn between two norms. So they don't get the benefit of either. And therefore they are existing in a most peculiar situation. And for instance, they don't get the benefits that the Sangha enjoy, like education in Pirivenas, and the respect of and recognition of the state and the public. And this has gone on for the last maybe 100 years, and it is not easy for them to resurrect themselves unless through a formal ordination, when they come to be recognized equal to bhikkhus. So I think that is the best thing that can happen, also to draw in more educated women and women more committed to follow the rules of discipline. Because as it is the 10 precept nuns, many of them may be entering the order because it is, I mean, if you call it an order, through various reasons. But the best of women in Sri Lanka do not join this order. With the result, it is dilute. So if ordination comes, I think very educated women and more committed women might join up, and there will be and equality with the Sangha will give them a right kind of recognition, and the atmosphere and the environment that they deserve. But the nuns, 10 precepts nuns, do not get that. The facilities, the fourfold requisites, they don't get what they deserve.
What is your feeling about the role of nuns in Sri Lanka and, for example, doing active social service work?
Social service work, I suppose you must have some inputs to get some outputs. Huh? So as it is, with the Sangha frowning and the state frowning and the people, there are not much input into that system, the nuns. So you couldn't expect them to perform at peak efficiency, because they are hemmed in on all sides and their true potential is not realized. But even then, they appear to be working very hard, and the last 10 years have seen many nuns studying, getting through degrees, first degree and a master's degree, and some getting through one or two parts of the Pandita, the Pandits, and most of them are able to read and understand Pali, nearly every one of them, because Sri Lanka, the Pali tradition has been developing and it is not totally gone. So most of them can read the original Pali, and the monkhood has been giving so many sermons So generally the nuns are educated enough, only they don't have the wherewithal to enter into public service. Maybe they must get the know-how, and they must have financial and supportive traveling and all that kind of facility to be able to do a sustained job as social workers. Neither do they have the expertise, the practice. So I think given the right environment and the proper training, they will come up in social service also. At the moment, with all that, you find they are very good counselors because unofficially, many women beaten up or whatever, children going wrong, they converge to the nunnery and they have a motherly way of explaining the Dhamma and uh, sort of giving them some consolation according to the Dhamma. So I think, and also receiving alms in their small group, and when they are sick, they keep Bodhi Puja and they chant Paritta whenever they are in difficulties. So that kind of work they do side by side with the bhikkhus. Whereas in some parts you find they are more desirable than the bhikkhus because it needs many formalities to call a bhikkhu, whereas informally a 10 precept nun can walk into the house and even into the kitchen and talk to them, and it doesn't cost them much money to support the nun. Maybe they can even give some raw food, raw material, and they can do the cooking themselves. Whereas the bhikkhu being invited into the house is quite a big ceremony, and it involves more money and time and all that. So I think they are of much use, and they are teachers. Many of the Sunday schools, preschools are run by nuns, and they do a good job.
You say that 90% of the monks, you feel, are supportive of restoration of Bhikkhuni Sangha.
So far, those that I have met, I find are very supportive. Maybe they have their private view, or maybe, especially in Sarnath, only a selected few that come to Sarnath to visit us ever since I got ordination. But I feel the general pulse is that many bhikkhus can maybe supportive.
Because it seems that if 90% of the bhikkhus support it, it should be an easy thing to get them to give it.
To give it? In what way?
To perform the ordination.
Alone? Only the bhikkhus?
Well, I would suggest with bhikkhunis, because
With us?
well, eventually, yes, or with some bhikkhunis from another country.
Possibly, yes. I think it is happening. It will happen in the near future, because when the floodgates are open, I think many things can happen. Now there is going to be another ordination in Bodh Gaya, and I hear 22 nuns from Sri Lanka are getting ordination under the Taiwan system. So I think this word bhikkhuni will come to be accepted, and people will find many other easier methods of giving ordination. They will, I think eventually they will find ways and means of doing this. It may take time because tradition is hard to break, and that is why I believe in staying in Sarnath for a couple of years until I am fully trained and I have something in my hand to give. I can't show an empty fist. So I like to be fully confident about what I'm saying and doing. So I could make some necessary changes, because this Bhikkhuni Vinaya is now 2500 years, and maybe we need some little, not the important rules, but the minor rules may have to be sort of adjusted, or I don't know what word to use, because they have become obsolete or irrelevant to today's situation. So maybe we have to mix some alterations to suit the present day, so people can really practice without too much being hemmed in.
The bhikkhunis have more than 100 precepts more than the bhikkhus. And some people take this as evidence of discrimination, gender discrimination in Buddhism. What is your opinion?
I don't believe that at all, because the more rules for bhikkhunis became, because there were so many errant bhikkhus who already committed about uh, offences that made it necessary for 94 precepts to be laid for the bhikkhus, which were all in toto incorporated into the Bhikkhuni Vinaya. That is how the Vinaya precepts became more. But really, the Bhikkhunis did not commit all the 311 rules, the offences. So the Bhikkhu Vinaya, which came 5 years before, had many rules, something like 94 rules, which were also added on to the Bhikkhuni Vinaya. It's not that the Bhikkhunis committed all of those offences for the rules to be laid down. So that I think is not right. The Bhikkhunis did not commit so many rules. On the other hand, the Bhikkhunis were victims of maybe sexual misconduct on the part of men, and they were victims. So therefore the Buddha had to lay many protective rules, because they were not, it was not a commitment that the bhikkhunis had purposely done, but because somebody else did these things, the Buddha said, well, don't do this. So you get the necessary protection, more protective.
There were, I believe, 5 Sri Lankan nuns who traveled to Los Angeles in 1988 and received bhikkhuni ordination there. What has happened to these 5 bhikkhunis?
The 5 bhikkhunis, the Silmata Sangame, that is the council, the society of, there is a society of the nuns of Sri Lanka. They found that the 6 of them in isolation could not be recognized as bhikkhunis, because they were in individual aramas. There was no facility for them to be together to practice. So at the moment they live like ordinary nuns, but they, I hear that most of them are practicing as far as such things are possible, but it didn't gain acceptance, because this is a convention. Ordination is not a dharma, it is only a convention. People must get together and say, well, we recognize you as a bhikkhuni. And that kind of recognition did not come from the people, or even from the nuns, or from the bhikkhus. So that is why they remain unknown. But I think if the convention is to work, that acceptance must come from all quarters as much as possible. Because Sri Lanka is already steeped in Buddhism. It's not like the Western world. So Western world can accept any nun, but we cannot. We have our tradition and we must keep to the tradition and we must find acceptance because this is a convention.
What do you think are the prospects for creating an international Bhikkhuni Sangha?
That I would be the happiest if only we can do that because we will get so much more power and so much more expertise to tackle the modern day society and this environment, and we can do a joint effort in exchanging and this comradeship, this brotherhood, this sisterhood is all important for us to give of our best. For instance, the third world countries may not have money, but they may have brains or education or meditation. They may be or vipassana, and we could always go to the West and we could exchange our expertise and we could do a very much better job. So I only hope there will be a world situation where the nuns, the bhikkhunis all over the world, regardless of whatever denomination, in the sense that whether it is Theravada or whatever other tradition, that they will come together in a common effort to deliver the world from suffering.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have anything else to share?
Well, I have hopes for the future.
Can you tell us about your hopes?
So I'm hoping that things will work out in a couple of years gradually. I'm not expecting large numbers to ordain at the beginning, and I think it should go with a very good foundation, and it should spread slowly, and that they will be looked upon as the real Dhamma sisters who can be on whom people can place confidence. So I think more than the quality, more than the quantity is all important at the beginning now.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
đi. Dạ ơi, kiếm ăn đi.
Cành một cái dòng dọc luôn.
Dạ ba thai xong rồi. Cái này cho mình tay làm một bề. Đập ngay. Có cho hai cái to cái này á.
Quá à.
Cái nó con lên thẻ sao ăn cho là con đăng lập tơ luôn hết. À mấy đứa không qua làm mình trước cho con. Chỉ có ai đó đâu. Mình cái ai được.
Rồi cho rồi thôi thôi đó từ những sự ai còn đây có đây cho con ta
I can see what you're doing.
con mình cay ngon chia từ mấy chia
Thôi đấy, xong $5.